All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is December 17th, 2025. My name is Coach Carignan. I'm the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. That is the day trading division of the Hit and Run Candlesticks family. Let's take a look at the markets today. All right, see what happened. See how I made 6K with 7K. We'll go over that in just a minute. Let's take a look at the markets coming into the close. On the 10-minute SPY, 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. 2-hour chart, okay? 2-hour downtrend coming into the close. Daily chart. Daily chart got a, let's move this out of the way. So the high there was, let's move this down. Let's move this down. Out of the way, and this down, out of the way. All right, so the high here was 681.08. The high here was 681.50. So outside day, higher high, lower low, closing under the bearish trap, under the 17. You can see price action up here at the top of quadrant 4. Still haven't broken any lows yet. All right, so top of quadrant 4. That's bullish, all right? And we'll take a look at, here's the April low. That's bullish and still in an uptrend. Not moving up, but it's still in an uptrend. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe this is the last candle. I don't know. We'll find out. Okay, so there's SPY. Let's take a look at QQQ. All right, QQQ is I'm going to say it's an outside day as well. The high is 615.13. The high is 613.51. 615.13. That's a higher high. Another outside day, closing under a bearish trap under the 17 EMA. Still in an uptrend, but not moving up. In the middle of quadrant 4. Here's our April low. That's still bullish. Still in an uptrend. Not moving up though. Okay, so there's QQQ. FNGU. All right, outside day, closing under the trap, under the 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, underneath the major support line. Okay, down here in the neutral territory. Okay, you go up, you give it up. That's just neutral. So there's neutral territory right here, and still in a downtrend. There's a low. We made a lower low, so still in a downtrend there for FNGU. All right, let's take a look at Diamond Dow. All right, Diamond Dow, lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish cross, but over the 17 EMA, over the prior all-time high anchored VWAP. Still in an uptrend, hasn't made a lower low yet. Okay, still in the top of quadrant 4. That's bullish and still in an uptrend. Let's take a look at IWM. Let's see what we got here. High there is 252.16. 252.16 equal high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap, under the 17 EMA, but over the prior all-time high anchored VWAP, still in an uptrend. In the middle of quadrant 4 up there. Okay, so here's our April low. So still bullish, still in an uptrend on IWM. Let's take a look at silver. Silver, new all-time high, top of quadrant 4. Here's quadrant 1. There's the origin back here. So that's bullish, still in an uptrend on silver. Gold not getting it done, okay, but bull flagging. Okay, so let's take a look here what we got. All right, so the low is 394.59. The low is 396.10. Okay, so that's a higher low. The high here is 398.71. The high here is 399.98. So higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap, over the 17, over the all-time high anchored VWAP, top of quadrant 4, holding the higher ground. That's bullish. Okay, here's all the way back here in quadrant 1. Bullish and still in an uptrend. GLD. Okay, let's take a look at UNG. All right, UNG, this is 2025 high right there. Okay, price action for today. It's a higher low, a higher high, closing inside a bearish trap under the 17 EMA right here. Under, okay, in a bearish trap under the 17, under the 2025 high anchored VWAP. Down here in the bottom of quadrant 1, that's bearish. There's a low, there's a lower low, so that's bearish and still in a downtrend. USO. Okay, USO was bearish down here, and then they bounced out of there, so now they're just neutral. Okay, so higher low, higher high, closing in a bearish trap under the 17, under the 2022 high anchored VWAP right there. That's a pink line. So they're neutral, all right, but still in a downtrend on USO. Technicals. T2101. Don't forget, tomorrow we got CPI coming out at 8:30 in the morning. Okay, so the market went down and the breadth and the participation went down. Okay, so that's I like it when that happens, but I don't like it when the market moves down. Okay, so I like it when it goes down with the market. In other words, the participation diminishes off. All right, that's kind of like a little bit of a bullish sign there. All right, so here's price action for T2101. Okay, so we're still a little bit bullish because breadth tapers off when breadth and participation, same thing when the market dips. So we kind of like that. All right, we don't want to see participation increase when the market dips. That's something we don't want to see. Although if we keep going down, I'm going to say it's not going to be long before people start piling in. All right, I'm just saying. T2122. Okay, so out of the seller's chop zone right here, and we spent the day, a little bit of the day in the buy zone, a lot of the day inside the buyer's chop zone. Made a brief appearance in here, enough time to have a sip of tea. All right. In the seller's chop zone, but all in all came back up over here. So we got the higher low and we got the higher high. So not too bad, but not really liking the looks of the volatile price action right through there. Okay, so notice we didn't stay in the buy zone for long. We didn't stay in the seller's chop zone for long. So for the most part, all day inside the buyer's chop zone. T2123, still bullish. Okay, there's a high, there's a higher high, so that's a uptrend still. All right, so we're still in an uptrend. We're bull flagging. Nice little launch pad getting built over the 200 SMA. That's bullish. Okay, we're over the 1/3 line. Okay, so that's bullish in the bullish quadrant up there. So that's looking good on the 15-minute chart. Holding that higher ground, that's bullish. All right, let's take a look at what do we want to look at? 3-bar chart. Okay, so 3-bar chart. See, here's a 1/3 line. Okay, so everything in the upper third, that's bullish. Here's the head and shoulders pattern. All right, that was negated when we rose up price over the head. So there's price action. There's the April low. There's the all-time high. Since then, we're making lower highs and lower lows. Okay, until a couple weeks, until last week, when we actually there's a high, we made a higher high right here on this day here. Okay, so we made the higher high. That put us in an uptrend. So that's bullish if this is in an uptrend. Over the 200 SMA, that's bullish. That's where I want to be. Okay, up there in the middle of quadrant 4, that's bullish. Okay, so we're in an uptrend. All right, and we're bullish up here in the upper quadrant, and we're up over that 200 SMA. That's T2123 3-bar chart. Okay, let's take a look at Stinker. All right, so here's FNGU. Gap down, never filled the gap. Okay, bulls never got the gap filled. Okay, moving down, and now we got not looking good because we got some consolidation under prior consolidation, which typically equates to, well, I'm going to say, more selling. All right, so we'll see what happens. All right, looking for the bulls to come rescue price anytime now. All right, let's not wait till the last minute. Anyways, okay, so there's FNGU on the 15, definitely in a downtrend under the 200 SMA. All right, that's bearish, not a bear. Under the all-time high anchored VWAP, okay, not my favorite place. Okay, under the major support line, that's the green line right here. Okay, again, not my favorite place. Okay, so everything pointing to the bears on the 10 heavyweights inside the FNGU. Okay, so if they're all moving lower, they're going to drag the market down with them. All right, they just have that ability. Remember, they drag the market up. They can drag the market down. So there's FNGU on the 15-minute chart. All right, that's it. Remember, CPI tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning, okay? So it'll be volatile. I don't think there'll be anything new. I don't think there'll be any surprises. But I think it will be volatile because I think the market wants the volatility, all right? So that they can, it helps them to separate you from your money, all right? So I think it will probably be very volatile. So don't get wrapped up. Wait for the trend. Stick to your trading plan, all right? Looking for, probably going to get a gap down tomorrow. But then again, you got CPI, so I don't know where it's going to wind up. Okay, so just be careful tomorrow, okay? I'm just saying, like, I think we're overdue for a bounce, but without the FNGU, it's kind of pointless. All right, doesn't matter what the other, 490 stocks want to do in the S&P 500. When those 10 heavyweights move as a pack in a downward direction, they're going to drag everything down with them. All right, so be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. Finishing the low of the day finishing at the end of the day at the low of the day is definitely not a bullish sign. Okay, so we could be going lower. I really see us going to 650 just to begin with. Okay, on SPY, and then later all the way down to test those prior lows. I think on at 580 or something. Let me see where SPY is. Okay, so where were these lows? 650. Okay, so I see us coming all the way down to 650, and maybe even a little bit lower. All right, so we'll see what happens. All right, maybe on down to 600. Okay, or down to 620. Okay, that's the first sign of minor support on the bigger time frames. Yeah, if 650 fails, this is a definite double top, yes. But need the bulls to come rescue the price action. Here's the rally back, and you can see price rolling over. So not quite getting it. Now, what's funny is if you looked in the pre-market, post-market, we actually did make new all-time highs. If you looked in the pre-market, post-market, there were some new all-time highs in those pre-morning market hours or in those evening aftermarket hours right there, okay? All right, so we did actually make a new all-time high in the post-market, pre-market, all right? It just doesn't show up on any of the candles because it didn't happen in the open market. All right, so this is, be careful for tomorrow, okay? CPI 830. Everybody have a beautiful evening. Thank you for being here. You bet they were ES single prints. Not sure, but it'll probably be volatile tomorrow. Unfinished auction rejections. I don't know anything about that. You're over my head on that one. I have no experience on that side. I do trade the ES. but not sure about the single prints. Okay, traders, see you in the morning. Okay, 8 o'clock. All right. We got all the rate cuts we're going to get for the year, so I guess whatever comes out tomorrow is setting us up for January. So we'll see.